So what is a deadlock? What is a deadlock means, for example, in our system, there are two processes running called P1 and P2. P1 is holding a resource called R1 and P2 is holding a resource called R2. Okay. Usually resource is represented with a rectangle and process is represented in a circle. Right. There is only one resource R1, one instance of type R1 and one instance of type R2. Okay. So whenever P1 is waiting for P2 and P2 is waiting for P1. Why? Because P2 requires R1 and P1 requires R2. At that time, both the process will move to the waiting state. Why they are moving to the waiting state? And next, this waiting state is indefinite, right? So why it is indefinite? So why? Because in order to complete the task, P1 requires both R1 and R2. In order to complete the task, P2 requires both R1 and R2. But both the process are waiting for the other process resource, and those process are also in the waiting state. Okay, so that it leads to blocking. That means both the P1 and P2 went to the blocking state. Why? Because P2 never release the R2 and P1 never release the R1. Why? Because whenever the process completes its task, then only the process will release the resources. Here in this case, P1 is waiting for the resource R2 and P2 is waiting for the resource R1. But those two resources are already allocated to the waiting process, P1 and P2, right? So because of that reason, both the process will never get the resources, so that they never finish their complete task. They never complete their task. This is called as deadlock situation. Okay. This is called as deadlock situation. And the next one is, we already had a discussion about necessary conditions for the deadlock. There are 4 conditions for the deadlock. What are the 4 conditions for the deadlock or deadlock criteria? The first one is mutual exclusion. And the second one is hold and wait. Third one is non-preemption. Fourth one is circular wait. So what is mutual exclusion? One process at a time is allowed to use the resource. Only one process at a time can access or use the resource. No other process is allowed to access the resource. For example, P1 is using a resource R1. At that particular time, no other process is allowed to access the resource R1. That means only one process is eligible to access the resource. That is called as mutual exclusion. What is hold and wait? Process holding a resource and waiting for the another resource. That is called as hold and wait. As the name indicates, a process holding a resource and waiting for the another resource. I already told you now in last example, P1 is assigned R1, but P1 is waiting for the other resource which is allocated to R1. It is waiting for R2. Already R1 is allocated to P1 and P1 is waiting for R2, but R2 is assigned to P2. So that is called hold and wait. And the next one is a non-preemption. What is non-preemption? Non-preemption means process will never release the resource. Process will never release the resource until its completion. Okay. That means process has to voluntarily release the resource. We cannot forcefully take the resource from a process. Okay, when we assign a resource to the process has to release the resource voluntarily at the end of the task. But we cannot take the resource forcefully from the process. That is called as non-preemption. Circular wait. The best example for non-preemption is FIFO. I already told you. FCFS. First come, first serve. In the first come, first serve scheduling algorithm. So for example, P1 requires 8 milliseconds of burst time. So what we are doing? We are allocating CPU to the P1. So P1 will release the CPU after 8 milliseconds only. Why? Because P1 requires 8 milliseconds of CPU time to complete its task. So before 8 milliseconds, we cannot take the CPU forcefully from the process P1. At the end of the task, after 8 milliseconds only, the P1 release the CPU. But whereas in the case of round robin, what happened? P1 requires 8 milliseconds of CPU time to complete its task. But we have assigned a time quantum of 3. For each process, we are giving only 3 milliseconds of CPU time. Okay. So after 3 milliseconds, whether P1 completes its task or not, we are taking the CPU from P1. P1. Are you got my point? So P1 requires 8 milliseconds of time, but in the case of round robin algorithm, we are willing to give only 3 milliseconds of CPU time for every process. Whether the process completes its task within the 3 milliseconds of time, we don't have any bother. We will take the CPU from that particular process and we'll assign the CPU to some other process, for example, P2. Okay, P2 requires 6 milliseconds of CPU time, but we are giving only 3 milliseconds of time for each process. What we will do, whether P2 completes its task or not, we'll remove the CPU from P1, P2, and we will allocate it to the P3. So this is called as preemption. That means we can take the resource from the process, whether it completes the task or not. We can take the resource from a process. For example, if it is a low priority process executing the CPU executing a low priority process, suddenly a high priority process came into the main memory. Okay, so high priority process will never wait for the low priority process. At the time, what we will do? The low priority process will go to the ready state from running state, and we assign the CPU to the high priority process. That means even low priority process not completed execution at that moment, still we are taking the CPU from low priority process and we allocate it to the high priority process. That is called as preemption. Preemption. But non-preemption means once we allocate a resource to the process, the resource will be released by the process voluntarily at the end of the execution. Okay, that is about non-preemption. And the next one is a circular wait. What is circular wait? P1 is waiting for the resource which is allocated to P2, and P2 is waiting for the resource which is allocated to P3. So on Pn minus 1 is waiting for the resource which is allocated to Pn. At the end, again, Pn is waiting for the resource which is allocated to P1. So there is a circle, right? If the process waiting for the resource in a circular fashion, then it will lead to the deadlock. So these are the 4 reasons for the deadlock. So we know that if we avoid these 4 reasons not to happen, then automatically we can prevent the system to enter into the deadlock. So that is about deadlock prevention. That means we need to avoid the situations, these 4 situations, so that deadlock will be prevented. Okay. And next, system model. What is system model? In the case of system model, as I told you, we have 2 types of resource. One is number of process indicated by the circle, and the second one is the resource indicated by the rectangle. And next, there are multiple number of instances for the same resource. For example, R1. In the system, there are 3 types of R1 resources might available. So those are called as instances of R1. Okay. So all those 3 instances are of type R1. Okay, it is indicated by the dot in a rectangle. So each process utilizes a resource as follows. So how can a process uses the resource? First, the process has to request for the resource, and then it can use the resource. After that, it has to release the resource. As I told you, these are the necessary conditions for the deadlock. We have covered this one. And then one more thing you need to observe is requested and the assignment edge. What is requested and what is assignment edge? Request edge means process is requesting for a resource. Follow the cursor. Here P is a process requesting R is a resource. PI is requesting RJ. Process I is requesting resource J. And next, here resource is allocated to or assigned to process. That means the arrow direction is from resource to a process. So this is called as assignment edge and this is called as requested edge. Requested edge means from process to resource. Assignment edge is from resource to a process. In our example, how many number of processes are there? P1 to Pm. How many number of resources are there? R1 to Rn. Here in this particular resource allocation graph, we have vertices as well as edges. Vertices means here process. Okay. As I told you, process is represented with a circle. And here if you observe, there is a resource. How many types of resource instances are available? 4 types of same resource is available in the machine. And this is the request edge and this is the assignment edge. Okay. Process requesting a resource. Here the resource is assigned to a process. And this is resource allocation graph. If you have a resource allocation graph, you can easily identify whether there is a deadlock present in this particular system or not. Okay, here if you observe, P1 is waiting for the resource R1 and R1 is assigned to P2. P2 is waiting for the resource R3 and R3 is assigned to P3. Okay, and then there are 2 instances of R2. One is assigned to P1 and one is requested by P2. If we observe here, there are 2 instances. 2 things are assigned to 2 processes. P1, there are 2 types of R2 instances. One is assigned to P1 and one is assigned to P2. That means there is no cycle. There is no cycle here. So if there is no cycle, there is no deadlock. Coming to this case, here if we observe, P1 is waiting for the resource R1 and R1 is assigned to P2. P2 is waiting for the resource R3. Follow the cursor. R3 is assigned to P3. After that, here we have 2 instances of R2. One is assigned to P2. And another thing is there now. Another resource. P3 is waiting for one resource and it is allocated to P1. So there is a deadlock. Why there is a deadlock? Here if we observe, P1 is waiting for R1 from here to here, here to here, here to here, and then here to here, here to here. There is a cycle. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a loop, right? If there is a loop in a deadlock, so automatically there is a cycle, automatically there is a deadlock. Okay. And the next, here also we have a cycle but no deadlock. Observe here, there are 2 instances. P1 is waiting for R1 and it is assigned to P3. P3 is waiting for R2 and it is assigned to P1. There is a cycle. Okay. So both P1 and P3 never release the resource. P1 has R2. P3 has R1. But P3 requires R2 and P1 requires R1. So both never release the resource to other process. But if these 2 processes might not release the resource, there are some other 2 processes in the system. Those are P2 and P4. P4 are also having one resource R2 and P2 is also having one resource R1. So if even P3 is not releasing the resource R1, P2 might release the resource after use. Why? Because each and every process has to request for the resource and then use and then release the resource. So once R1 is assigned to P2, after some time, maybe P2 completes its task by why? Because it is not waiting for any other resource. So obviously it will complete the task soon. So once it completes its task, it releases the resource and the R1 resource might be allocated to P1. Like the fashion, R2 is assigned to P1, but P3 is waiting for R2. So P1 might not release the resource. Why? Because P1 is also a waiting state. Why? Because P1 is assigned R2, but it is waiting for R1. So it may not complete the execution soon. But P4 can complete its task. But P4 can complete its task. So then P4 can release the resource R2. At that time, even P1 might not release the R2, but P4 might release the resource soon, so that we can assign it to the P3. So in this situation, even the cycle is there, but there is no chance of deadlock. Deadlock means indefinite waiting. The process will need to go to the indefinite waiting. Okay, we cannot know when they get the resources. Why? Because if these two are not present, for example, if these two are not present, here is only one instance, and here also there is only one instance. What happened? I will explain you with the help of a paint. So here P1 is waiting for the resource R1. There is only one instance. And then it is assigned to P2. And there is another resource, for example, R2. It is also having only one instance. So it is already allocated to P1. So P2 is waiting for this. So in this case, what happened? P1 requests R1 and it is allocated to P2. P2 requests R2 and it is allocated to P1. Okay. So that there is a cycle. So there is a deadlock. Why there is a deadlock? Why? Because P1 is also in a waiting state and P2 is also in the waiting state. That means these two processes are requesting the resource from a waiting process, and next in turn they will never release the resource. Why? Because they are also in a indefinite waiting state. At that time the deadlock will happen. So for example, if there is another instance, there are two instances of R1 and two instances of R2, for example. Here we have a two instances of R1, two instances of R2. So one instance is assigned to some other process called P3 and one instance is assigned to some other process called P4. In the previous example, P1 has to wait for only P2. P2 has to only wait for P1 to release a resource. But in this case, even P2 is not releasing a resource, P3 can release the resource. Why? Because P3 is not waiting for any other resource, right? It is not in the waiting state. So once it completes its task, it releases the R1. So R1 instance will be assigned to P1. Like that, here also P4 is not waiting for any other resource. So automatically P4 completes its task and then R2 will be free. Whenever the one R2 will be free, the R2 will be assigned to P2. So even though there is a cycle, there is no deadlock because we have multiple number of instances, not one instance. That is what you need to understand. If there are multiple number of instances, even if there is a cycle, there is no need of a deadlock situation. We no need to enter into the deadlock situation because we have multiple instances of resource. Even if one process not going to release the resource, the other process might release the resource so that that resource will be allocated to the waiting process. So what you need to do? So even though there is a cycle, you need to check for the resources, number of resource instances. Then only you can come to a conclusion that whether there is a real situation of deadlock or not. That is what basic facts. No cycles means no deadlock. If only one instance per a resource type, then a deadlock. If a cycle is there in a graph, there is only one instance per resource, then definitely there is a deadlock. There will be a deadlock. If several instances per a process type, then we cannot completely say that if there is a cycle, so we will move to the deadlock situation. It is not true. If there are multiple number of instances of a same resource, then the possibility of deadlock is there, but the deadlock will not happen for sure. But in the case of one instance, definitely there is a possibility of a deadlock. For sure, we'll get the deadlock if there is a cycle and the resources instances are only one. There is only one instance for each resource. And the next methods for handling the deadlock. So there are total 4 things we need to consider. First one is a deadlock prevention, deadlock avoidance, and next recovery from the deadlock. Recovery from deadlock, and next ignore the problem and pretend the system that there is no deadlock occur in our system. These are the 4 things: deadlock prevention, deadlock avoidance, recovery from the deadlock, and then ignore the problem and we pretend that in our system there will be never uh, chance of getting a deadlock. And next, the first concept in the handling of deadlocks, that is deadlock prevention. So what are the necessary conditions for the deadlocks? Mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and the circular wait. These are the things we already discussed: mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, circular wait. So these are the 4 reasons for getting the deadlock. Mutual exclusion. How can we avoid mutual exclusion problem? If it is a non-shareable resource, 2 processes cannot use the resource at the same time. What is mutual exclusion? Only one process at a time can utilize the resource or access the resource. What is mutual exclusion? Here, what it is going to say to us is, if there is a shareable resource, then there will be no problem, right? In a mission, we have 2 types of resources: shareable resources, non-shareable resources. Okay, printer is non-shareable resource, CPU shareable resource, main memory shareable resource. Okay, so we can um, have both shareable resources and non-shareable resources in a mission. So files also shareable. For example, this PPT is read by you also, right? You are also reading the same PPT. I am also reading the same PPT. That means the same PPT is used by the multiple number of people at the same time. Now I am following this PPT slide. You are also following the same PPT, right? Here I am trying to read deadlock prevention. You can also read the deadlock prevention, right? So this is called as sharing. Sharing. Okay, read only the sharing the read only files. Read only files. Okay. So we need to have non-shareable resources, unshareable resources. If there are shareable resources, 2 processes can access the resource at the same time. In a memory, we can keep 2 processes at the same time, 3 processes at the same time, right? But a printer, it is a non-shareable device, one after the other. Okay. If there are shareable resources in a mission, so 2 processes or 3 processes can access the one or more process can access the resource at the same time, and then hold and wait. So what is the reason? One process is holding a resource and waiting for the another resource. That leads to a deadlock. In order to avoid situation, whenever the process require a resource, first it has to release the resource, and then it will be allowed to request for the other resource. Require process to request and be allocated to all its resource before it's begin of the execution. So actually hold and wait problem, why it happened? For example, P1 is having R1 and it is waiting for the R2, but R2 is allocated to P2 and it is also in the waiting state. So that the system will go to the deadlock state, right? In order to avoid such a situation, what you have to do at the time of starting state itself, whether how many number of resources required by a process, we need to allocate all the resources to the process at the initial stage itself. Okay, so that all the resources required for a process, we are going to allocate it anyhow. So it will complete the execution without any problem. So the hold and wait problem will never happen. So for example, process requires R1 and R2. Now you are giving only R1. After that, P1 requires R2. So at that time, P1 is holding a resource R1 and it is waiting for the R2. So R2, because of some reasons, we are not providing R2 to P1. So at the time, what will happen? P1 never release the R1. Why? Because it is unable to complete the task because it doesn't have R2. So in order to avoid such situation, at the time of execution, start of execution only, P1 requires two resources. What are those? R1 and R2. If the resources are available, we need to assign all the resources required of the process at the initial stage itself, at the starting of the execution, so that we never go to the hold and wait situation. But what is the problem here? If we assign all the resources required for a process, for example, one process requires 7 resources. 6 resources are already available, one resource is not there. And that particular one resource is required for a process at the end of the execution. In the initial stage, a process execution requires only those 6 resources and they are available in the machine. But if you are waiting for that particular single resource, okay, and all the remaining resources are not used by the process because of that single resource, we are not start the execution of a process, even the 6 resources are available with us, right? So what happened? We are not going to use the resources completely. We are not better utilize the resource. We are not better utilizing the resource. That is the problem. Okay. And the next one is a no preemption. No preemption means the process holding a resource requesting another resource, we should not immediately allocate the resource to it. Okay. So whenever the process are willing to access the resource, what the resource process has to do? First, before going to request the another resource, the process has to release its resource voluntarily, and that voluntary release the resources will be added to the list. So those resources are allocated to the waiting process. Are you got my point? Whenever the what is no preemption? No preemption means process has to voluntarily release the resource. We cannot take the resource forcefully from a process. Okay, that is no preemption. Here, what under deadlock prevention, what you have to understand, the process itself has to release a resource. The process itself has to release a resource voluntarily before requesting the another resource. For example, P1 is having R1 resource. It is going to request R2 resource. Then what the P1 has to do? P1 has to release the resource R1 voluntarily and it can request the other resource, so that will prevent the voluntary release resources will be added to the list, and those list of resources will be assigned to the waiting process which are really need those resources, so that those process will complete the task and they will release the resources, so that most of the waiting process will get the resources from the preempted list of resources. So most of the process will complete their task, so that they will release the resources, so that deadlock will not happen. And the next, circular wait. Circular wait means P1 is waiting for the resource which is allocated to P2. P2 is waiting for the resource which is allocated to P3. Again, P3 is waiting for the resource which was allocated to P1. That means P3 is waiting for P1. It should not happen. Because of that reason, the circular wait has cycle will form, right? So how can the process request for a resource? Each process requests the resource in an increasing order only. That means P3 has to request for the resource which is available at P4. It should not wait for the resource which are already allocated to P1 and P2. P3 is waiting for the resource for P4 only, and P4 has to wait for the resource which are allocated to P5 only. That means each process has to request for the resource in an increasing order of enumeration only. Okay. And the next one is a deadlock avoidance. In the case of deadlock avoidance, we need to talk about a safe state. Okay. So what is a safe state? What is unsafe state? So I will explain you with an example so that it will be clearly understood by you. Theory won't work out. So if a system is in safe state means there is no deadlock. If the system is in unsafe state means there is a possibility of deadlock. Remember, there is a possibility. Compulsorily, we cannot say that there will be a deadlock situation. No, we should not say like that. If the system is in safe state, definitely we can say that there is no deadlock. If the system is in unsafe state, then the possibility of deadlock is there. We cannot say that compulsorily we'll get the deadlock. It is very, very important question with respect to gate as well as interview point of view, right? Safe state means if the system is in safe state, there is no deadlock. If the system is in unsafe state, there is a possibility of a deadlock. And next, avoidance. Avoidance, what the avoidance will do? So ensure that the system will never enter the unsafe state. What the avoidance will help us. For example, now this is a pandemic, right? If we are safely staying at home, the possibility of getting COVID positive is very less. That means possibility of getting the COVID positive is less. In that case, if you are staying at home, we cannot guarantee. The government cannot guarantee you that you will not get, you will never get the positive, right? So, for example, even if you are staying at home, so you need to get the necessities from the outside world, right? From the outside world, you may get the positive, right? But we need to avoid the situation. Whenever there is an emergency or a medical emergency, then only you need to step out from your home. Okay, all the remaining time you need to be there safe at home, right? That means if you are in home, you will be in a safe state. Okay. So what are the other things required for you, reasons for you to step out? You should avoid all those steps so that you will be in a safe state. That is the thing. Deadlock, unsafe. Unsafe means there is a chance of deadlock. Safe means there is no deadlock. So what is the safe and unsafe? Let me explain you with the help of a diagram. Okay, here we have a two types of techniques under the deadlock avoidance. One is a single instance resource type, and the second one is a multiple instance resource type. Single instance resource type will be explained with the help of resource allocation graph, and the second one is multiple instance of resource type will be explained with the help of a banker's algorithm. Okay, so both the things, resource allocation graph and banker's algorithm, these two we need to discuss under the avoidance. So no need to go for a theory. Here if you observe, here if you observe in this particular diagram, so P1 is a process and P2 is a process. R1, R2 are the resources. Observe here in this diagram, there is only one instance. That means there is only one resource of type R1. There is only one resource of type R2. Okay. What happened here? R1 is assigned to P1 and P1 is waiting for the R2. And P2 is waiting for R1 and P2 is waiting for R2 also. Let me explain you with the pain. For example, there are two processes P1, P2. There is a resource R1, right? R1 is assigned to P1. Okay, and P2 is waiting for R1. And there is another resource called R2. Okay, P1 is holding a resource R1 and it is waiting for the another resource. Are you got my point? P1 is holding R1 and it is waiting for R2. So hold and wait is a necessary condition for the deadlock. We need to avoid this situation. That is the reason why whenever a process requires having a resource and requesting another resource, this is assignment edge, right? This is assignment edge. Why? Because R1 is assigned to P1. So now it is called as a request state. What we need to do? So this is called as climate. If you draw a dark line, so automatically P2 is also requesting R2. Okay. If you make like this, if you assign the R2 to P2, what happened? There will be a circle. Are you got my point? Both P1 and P2 are requesting R2. Both are requesting R2. But before going to allocate a resource to the particular process when it is requesting, P1 and P2 both are requesting R2. So whenever there is a request edges, so you need to judge before allocating a resource. Before allocating a resource to a process. So both P1 and P2 are requesting R2, to whom I need to allocate the resource. So whenever you allocate a resource, there should be no cycle. No cycle should form if you allocate a resource to a process. For example, if you allocate a process to P2, what happened? There is a circle. Then it will become a cycle. If there is a cycle, then it will be a unsafe state. Deadlock will happen. So what we have to do? We should not allocate the resource to P2. To whom we need to allocate the resource? P1 is requesting the resource R2. So if we allocate a resource to P1, so automatically what will be the direction of arrows? R1 to P1, and then this is also R2. Okay, this is not cycle. Even though it is in the circular fashion, it is not cycle. Cycle is not there. ఇట్లా కనుక డైరెక్షన్ ఉంటే అప్పుడు సర్కిల్ అవుతుంది. ఇట్లా డైరెక్షన్ ఉంటే సర్కిల్ అవ్వదు కదా. అర్థమైందా? సర్కిల్ లేదు. క్లియర్గా అబ్జర్వ్ చేయండి ఒకసారి. Is this a circle? Is this circle? No. This is not a circle. Circle అంటే ఎలా ఉండాలి? ఇలా ఉంటే సర్కిల్. కానీ ఇలా లేవు కదా. సో ఇది ఈ డైరెక్షన్ లో ఉంది, ఇది ఈ డైరెక్షన్ లో ఉంది. అంటే సర్కిల్ లేదు. సో whenever you want to allocate a resource to the particular process, we need to check if we assign a resource to that particular process, there will be a cycle or not. So if there is no cycle, then we can allocate the resource to the particular process. For example, what happened? We are not going to assign a resource to the P1. We want to try to give the resource to P2. What happened? Check here. R1, P1, P2, R2. According to our previous example, R1 is already allocated to P1 and P2 is waiting for R1. So both P1 and P2 are requesting for the resource R1. Sorry, R2. So if you want to be willing to give it to the P2, if you want to willing to give it to P2, why? Because P2 is requesting for R2, P1 is also requesting for R2, but we want to give it to P2. If we give it to P2, what happened? The request edge will be converted to assignment edge. Why? Because you are willing to give it to the P2. So what happened here? From R1 to P1, P1 to R2, R2 to P2, P2 to R1. So there is a circle, right? If we assign R2 to P2, then there will be a cycle. If we assign R2 to P1, if we assign R2 to P1, then there will be a no cycle, no cycle. Okay. So based upon that thing, whenever the process requesting for a resource, directly we should not make it as a assignment edge. So whenever you are requesting for a particular process, Then what you need to do? So we need to start with a climate. This is called as a climate. That means P1 and P2 are requesting R2. It is up to you, to up to the operating system to assign a resource to one process. So if we assign a resource to a particular process, then there is a cycle in a graph. So you should not assign the resource to a particular process. Okay, that is the thing. So if we assign a resource to R2, then there will be a cycle, unsafe state, unsafe state. Okay, that is about resource allocation graph. And the next one is a multiple instances, that is Banker's algorithm, right? So in the Banker's algorithm, I already told you there are multiple instances. One second. So I will do one thing. So directly I move to the algorithm so that you are comfortable. Once you are comfortable with the algorithm, okay. Otherwise, I will explain the algorithm and problem tomorrow. Why? Because already it is 10:05. I have only 10 minutes of time. So within the 10 minutes of time, I will try to complete the algorithm. What are the prerequisites for the algorithm, right? So in this case, if we observe here, this is a resource allocation graph. There are two techniques for avoiding the deadlock. One is for if it is a single instance resource allocation graph. So initially, whenever a process requesting for a resource, directly we should not draw the solid lines. Whenever there is a request or a allocation of a resource, first you need to draw the dotted lines, that is a climate gist. If there is any deadlock, then you make it a solid line. That is about resource allocation graph. And then multiple instances of resource. If there are multiple instances of a same resource, how can we avoid the deadlock? With the help of Bankel's algorithm, we need to avoid the deadlock. As I told you, in the Banker's algorithm, we have a multiple instances. And next, each resource must priorly claim maximum use. That means the process can request how many number of resources it requires to complete its task. It need to inform. And next, when a process requests a resource, it may have to wait. That means the process has to wait. Immediately, we cannot assign the all the requested resources. The process has to wait until we assign the resources. When a process gets all its resources, it must return them if a finite amount of time. That means the process requested a maximum resources. If all the number of resources are not available, the process has to wait. If we allocate all the resources to it, then the process has to return immediately after use of the resources. So what is the system model of data deadlock? The process has to request for the resource and then use the resource and then release. Request, use, release. Okay. Here we have a multiple instances and each process can request for maximum use. When the resources are not available, the process has to wait. After completion of the task, the process has to release all the resources which were allocated to it. For example, for P1, we are allocating R1, R2, R3, R4 resources. After using the resources, the process has to release all the resources, R1, R2, R3, R4, so that those resources will be allocated to some other process. And here we have, in the Banker's algorithm, we have some data structures. As I told you earlier, in the system, we have n number of process, m number of resources, and there are 4 types of data structures. What are those? Available, max, allocation, need. What is available? Available means total number of available resources in a system. Okay. The length, the vector length is of m. Why? Because in the system we have m number of resources. Okay. For example, if available j equal to k means there are k number of k number of resources. Rj resources are available. Rj is a resource type like Ri, Rj, RJ means it is one type of resource. Ri means another type of resource like R1, R2, right? Rj equal to k means there are k instance of type Rj. అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఆర్జే ఈక్వల్ 10 అన్నాం అనుకోండి. ఆర్జే రీసోర్సెస్ జే టైప్ ఆఫ్ రీసోర్సెస్ 10 ఉన్నాయి అంతే. ఓకే. And next max means n by m matrix. Maximum means I already told you the process must request to claim the maximum use. What is the maximum number of resources required for maximum number of resources a process can request? That means a process pi may request at most k instances of type rj. Why? Because how many number of rj resources are available? There are k resources available. If there are k resources available, the process cannot request for k plus 1 resources, right? For example, there are 10 resources of rj type available. You cannot request for 12 resources. Why? Because there is the maximum number of resources availability is 10 only. Okay, here 10 means k. Okay, how many number of resources a process can request? A process pi may request at most k instances of type rj. Okay, and then allocation means a process requests some number of resources. How many number of resources the system can allocate to the process? Total all the resources may not be allocated to the process. Currently, how many number of resources are available? That many number of resources we can allocate to the process. And then need means you require need means maximum you require 10 resources. For example, there are 10 resources available. K means 10, for example. The process requests all the 10. Okay, but you are allocating only six resources of type rj to the process. How many else do you require? 4. How can you say that maximum a process requests 10, but you allocated 4? Sorry, you allocated 6. Maximum it requires 10, you allocated 6. How many else require? 10 minus 6, 4. That is called as need. For example, you require 10,000 rupees, but your friend gave you, I have only maximum 6,000 rupees. So I can give you 6,000 right now. Later I will give you some other. Okay, what you will do? So 10,000 minus 6,000. What is the need? Still you need 4,000. Maximum means a process requested these number of resources. Allocation means the operating system allocates these many number of resources. So how can we get the need? Need means maximum minus allocation. For example, total 10 resources requested, but 6 are allocated. 10 minus 6. Still how many you require to complete the task? 4. So that is called as a need. Available means total number of available resources in a machine. Max means in order to complete the task, how many number of resources, maximum resources required for the process. Allocation means how many already allocated. Need means how many still the process requires after allocating the resource. Okay, so you may not understand this one right now. Directly I would like to explain you with problem. First we have an idea about problem, then it is very easy for me to give you algorithm step by step, information about algorithm step by step. So the time is 10:13. I cannot complete the example, but still I will give you one idea. So what I told you, so in the Banker's algorithm, there are some data structures and prerequisites are there, right? So here if you observe total number of process, n process, m resources, right? Here n is 5 and m is 3. That means n number of process. P0 to P4, P0, P1, P2, P3, P4, total 5. 5 number of processes are there in the machine. How many number of resources? 3 resources. What are those? A, B, and C. A, B, and C. So B type of resources 10 are available. Sorry, A type of resources 10 available, B type of resources 5 available, and C type of resources 7 available. Are you got my point? A type 10 resources are there, B type 5 resources are there, C type 7 resources are there. And next, maximum. Maximum means P naught, in order to complete the task, P naught requires 7A resources, 5B resources, 3C resources. P1, in order to complete its task, maximum 3A require, and next 2B require, and C type 2 require. Like that, how many number of resources P2 require? 9 A type of resources required, 0 B type of resources required, 2 C type of required, C type of resources required. Like that, these are the maximum resources required by the process to complete its task. Allocation. How many allocated? So actually 7A required, 5B required, 3C required, but you allocated 0, 1, 0. Still how many required by a process? That is called as need. That is called as need. Okay. Max minus allocation is called need. 753 minus 010. That means 743. 743 still required by P naught in order to complete the task. Max means maximum resources required by a process to complete this task. Allocation means how many number of resources allocated to the process. How will get the need? Max minus allocation. So that we will get the need. Okay. This is about the Banker's algorithm introduction. I will complete the algorithm as well as the problem in the next class. Okay. Thank you.